Artifact Gaming and Art here. Today we are working on memorial art for my father's GoFundMe. Today is kind of more of a somber occasion. It's a day after Memorial Day itself. I actually thought about going live yesterday, but I was spending time with family for the most part, and I got a bonus day off. I usually don't get that day off. So we have two pieces that are part of this, and we're doing like a series of 4 or 5. I think 5 is the number that I'm looking for, but we'll see what my brain, heart, mind, whatever you want to call it, does in regard to that. So the first one is called The Blighted King. This is the finish of it. I'll have a time lapse with some music eventually on this as well, but this is the first look at a series called The Faces of a Father. And we're gonna go ahead and get this shirt out real quick before we talk any further, because I forgot to do that, because, you know, I'm not real good at that. So let's see here. Art. Artifact. There we go. So here you go. There we go. Share it out to my personal sites. That's what we're gonna do. We're not really gonna go like into groups or anything like that. Anyway, this is the first of the 4 or 5 pieces that I'm gonna be doing. This one's called The Blighted King. My dad died of esophageal cancer, and that's what this was about. Was kind of watching him change from kind of like a very healthy and hale man into a very frail man in the period of a year, and it was just like a super stark and rapid decline. And also it was about a number of other things too, like just kind of the way that he isolated himself in the end, and the way that he kind of alienated a lot of people. The way that he kind of reaped what he sowed as well. He really, I'm missing some background elements because I didn't put them back in. There we go. Let's get all the layers back in. He kind of, that's the line works, the original line. Okay, I believe that's everything. Yeah. He kind of alienated a lot of people, pushed them away. He also, in doing so, kind of like warped his own perspective on a number of different things. He was very much a kind person with a lot of really great and noble sentiments. And the more I take time to kind of think about him, and the more I take time to kind of think about like who he became in the end, it seemed to twist a little bit as he became more embittered and more in pain. You know, some of the things he said to me at the end was that he would have taken more time for himself, and that he would have been kinder to people in a way, but at the same time he exhibited some intolerances that he just couldn't get past, some things he wasn't willing to understand, or people in his life that were very close to him that he wasn't willing to understand either. And the people closest to him that he supported, sometimes he lashed out at in a way that was just puzzling and problematic, to say the least. So this is The Blighted King, from my series, The Faces of a Father. And then we're going to be moving into our second piece, which is called Who Were You Protecting? And who are you protecting? I can tell you that the thoughts that I've had about this one are numerous. A lot of times my dad would refer to the things he had to do as slaying monsters, so that's why we have all these like monsters kind of surrounding a figure that is balding, which would be an image of my father, I suppose. Not really his face, but an image of my father. And then he's protecting this person over here, and I haven't determined if that's going to be him as a child or if it's going to be somebody else. And you can see the dendritic kind of like roots and trees theme kind of persists in this as well. So this is the piece we're going to be working on. I'm going to finish out this monster up here, if you can see where my cursor is, and then we're going to go ahead and work on the roots here, maybe this snake right here, this little baby right here, and then we might start working on some base color and some shading. I won't be able to finish this yet. When my phone took a dive in Mexico, I lost some pictures, and one of them was a picture of my father, so I need to get those safely tucked away somewhere else, so that I can reference them as well. Because I was thinking about going in that direction, but I'm not entirely sure just yet. So I might clean this little fella up right here as well, and then we'll go from there. I'm probably gonna spend about an hour, maybe a little bit more. I'm gonna try and spend a little bit of time each day, maybe not every day, but as often as I can, working on this. And then I'm going to keep pushing for that as well. Also, I do have a GoFundMe listed in my comments, and that GoFundMe actually helps me to mark my father's grave. I have to, and I didn't know this, I have to have everything set up and ready to go by September in order to withdraw or to reach a goal. So like I have to set up withdrawals and take them and stow that money somewhere, or the money gets refunded. So it actually puts a little bit more pressure than I had originally thought on me to get this done, and not only to get this done, but also to try and get my dad's father's memorial put together and have his grave marked, which is very, very important to me. But this is going to be a longer term process too. Like the actual marking of my father's grave will be a longer process, but I am trying to work on getting those funds together now. And I'm putting my own money in as well as asking for help in this endeavor. Doesn't have to be a bunch. If you have the ability to, it'd be great. My plan is to take a couple of different trips to Alaska to secure, carve, and place a grave marker for my dad. And it's going to be an original piece, something hand carved, because that would have meant the world to him as well. A lot of things, you know, like you can buy stuff all the time, but like in the end, I think it would have meant a lot more if it came from the hands of his sons. So Stefan and I have talked about it. He might help me with this as well if he has the ability and time, but it's not an obligation for him. It's just something I've decided to take on because it was something we weren't able to do at the time of his death. So his grave is currently up in Alaska near where he died. According to the strictures of his religion, he had to be buried within, I think it's like 9 miles where he died. And he was buried there, but it does not sit right with me that we weren't able to get that grave marked. And I would like to have that there. I have some ideas about how that's going to look and what that's going to feel like. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We're just going to get right into the artwork. If anybody's watching, I really appreciate you coming in. Say hi. If you've lost somebody and you want to share your story with me, I would love to hear it. I would love to read about it. I would love to share stories. I would love to tell stories, and continue to do so. We can talk about loss, we can talk about fantasy art, we can talk about a million different things, but this is what I'm going to be doing for the next little while. And then who knows, I don't think I'm going to be gaming right off, but I do have some paintball artwork that I might restart the stream on if I've got the time. And then I've got to read some wine stuff. I'm trying to get a little bit more routine in my practices during the day, so we'll see how far we get, but here we go, baby. Let's get into it. And also I did want to share something else too for my paintball artwork. If you guys don't know, I do paintball artwork under my label TFD. This is a fantasy of mine. I wanted to put this out as a marker, a paintball marker. This is the artwork that I came up with. It's like a kind of like, hey, if I had my own money in my own store, I would make a gun like this or something like that. And it's called the Cartographer's Firmament. Kind of has this neat little spacescape in here that I hand painted. I hand painted that. And then the cool thing is that I really like too is that it's got this compass. It kind of has that like atlas, you know, like a cartographer has the atlases, that type of thing, feel to it. And then there's this top stripe right up here, which I really, really adore the ability to use, because the top stripe has always been kind of like a thing with paintball guns where you can't really use it that well. This should print pretty marvelously if it ever gets to print. If you are a paintball vendor who happens to follow me and sees this and is interested, I would love to print a gun like this. I have two other ideas that are absolutely, in my opinion, kind of like awesome vibes. One's kind of more summery, and one has to do with like more samurai themes, and I think they'd be really dope. I know that the R5 Luxes, I think, for Planet Eclipse have come out, and they are phenomenal as well. So I don't mean to overmix the message here. This is mostly about my father, but this is the artwork that I've been up to lately. I've got to get all my tools in line here. So we need our pixel stains brushes because it's got this mechanical pencil, which I absolutely adore, and I need it at a flow of 50% to keep that gray that we like for drawing. And then I want this smaller. Yeah, I think like that, like a mechanical pencil would be fine. Now we've got all these layers, and we might get rid of all these layers, but right now we will not. All right, so if we get rid of everything else but the adult figure of my father, right, then we can really focus on cleaning this up. You can see that his leg is missing because there's a figure in front of him. With layers, this becomes, oops, get off there. Becomes kind of one of those things that you're constantly fighting, is making sure that you're on the right layer and that everything makes sense cohesively. I also wanted to establish a color and a mood for this one. I was thinking reddish, but I'm not entirely sure, so maybe let's kind of get into that real quick. Like, the other one was kind of based in yellow because when my dad died, his organs failed, and of course that meant that he got very jaundiced, and that carried over very powerfully for me. So I just took that in a direction. I like the idea of a cooler tone here. Something like that. Let's go ahead and let's just do it, baby. Okay. And what this will allow us to do is to really get a sense of what we're gonna get going here. And then I think what I'd like to do on the background, if it's gonna let me, I think I'm gonna grab some other brushes here. Not the sprays brush. Blood brushes. Nah, maybe some of these. These get big. I'm gonna go ahead and go normal. We'll do some multiply. Go ahead and change how this works real quick. Shape dynamics. We're gonna do some size jitter. We're gonna do some angle jitter. Angle jitter is important. And then maybe we'll start right here. A little too big and a little too scattered, I think. So we're going to turn the scattering just like that. Do this at pen pressure as well. You can see I didn't change my color at all. What I did do is add a multiply, which kind of fades this to black in most instances. Sometimes it can intensify colors in a weird or muddy way. So what this allows me to do too is it's going to allow me to focus on not so much the line work, which is what I've been kind of focusing on lately, right? But it's also going to allow me to focus on the mood and the thematics of this piece and what we're going to be doing with it to kind of make it fit within this theme. So that was just a quick way of doing that. Let's get one more spatter brush going, and then maybe we can focus on a different effect. Let's go over here. We'll turn scattering back on, turn the size jitter up, we'll turn the jitter back up. We'll go smaller. Alright, I'm gonna leave that for now. We might use a blending brush and kind of like smear some stuff out, or we might push some things here and there. Might add back some things in normal. For instance, I do kind of want to lighten this up a little bit, and I'm gonna go back in with color dodge here. There. Where the BCs are, I'd like it to be darker. And then where the characters are, I'd like them not to be. That, and then I want to use something to lighten all the line work. So once the line work is finalized, we'll go from there. So we've got that. And you really can't see all of it now because of the way that the background is, right? That has significantly changed what we're doing. But we can add a gray background or a white background until we finalize the line work. Go here. I'm gonna go ahead and just pop. I like to use a gray or neutral background, and the reason for that is it allows me to start working in like ideas of contrast. So for me, that's what this is about right here. Once we take this off, just a temporary layer that helps me to see where we're at and what we're doing. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And again, guys, this is about my father. This is called Who Are You Protecting? I'll probably say this over and over again. Usually these streams tend to be a little bit quiet, but if you want to hit that like button, it helps get it shared out, and that's going to help my GoFundMe grow. Super important for me to be able to mark my dad's grave, and I would really appreciate it if anybody would be willing to help with that. I'm probably going to go ahead and start reaching out to some other outlets as well, and like trying to figure out what I can do in regard to this. Not just relying, of course, on social media to help me with this, but like try to spread the word out a little bit that this is the attempt that I'm making and that it's important to me. Maybe there's some endowments I can avail myself of or something along those lines. So we'll get this pencil back out here, and then turn scattering off. We're going to turn size 0 off. We're going to turn back on, and we're good to go. And so we're going to work on the monster cobra layer like we were talking about and kind of finish out the details for this so that we can then and we're just gonna get real loose for just a little bit here. We'll probably erase a bit and kind of come in and just kind of warm up. I haven't really done any drawing warm-ups either. I got so many different projects that I want to do, and I think if anybody who knows me knows that like I'm one of those people who has too many irons in the fire almost every day of my life, and that probably won't ever change at any point. So I just have to kind of accept that and also try and keep my priorities in mind. And this is one of those priorities I just can't let slip. And if I think about how that would break my heart, I think that probably helps motivate me. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's accurate. Tell me about one of the most influential people in your life if you want to share in the comments. I would love to talk about it. I would love to hear your stories. Like I said, it's important to me that this isn't just about my father, even though that's kind of like what the title says. It's kind of about all of us and the losses that we experience and the fact that we're all kind of in this together. I don't know what these are, like if they're horns or what, but I like the idea of these little flyaways off this monster's head. And the thing about my dad is he loved trippy things like this. He loved psychedelic things. He loved his doodles. Were always abstracted for the most part. But he was an artisan and a craftsman, and a far better craftsman than I'll ever probably be, because he held himself to such a high standard. And I find myself doing that sometimes, but never as, I suppose, anally as he did. I guess that's the best way I can put that, right? Like, my dad was one of a kind in that regard, and if you ever had the chance working with him, you quickly learned that. You quickly learned, and I did. I worked with my dad had a job, and I now really count myself lucky and value that time more than I ever thought I would. Like, I think I kind of hated it at first, but he taught me so much about finishing a job when I didn't want to, or like, you know, kind of gutting things out. And I'm sure you all have experienced that too, right? Like, that has been a thing for many people in many different ways. This was just my experience of that, and he made it possible for me to complete things that without his inspiration I wouldn't have. That's what I remember most about my dad. And I watched him on many occasions struggle with the balance of what his desires were and his sense of obligation in regard to those desires. Like, and in my opinion, I think he sacrificed too much, and that's what kind of poisoned him against those people he loved the most in his life. And I wish he would have, like he said, taken more time for himself, because I think it would have allowed him to realize more love for the people he did love and did care about. And I don't think that oftentimes his love felt like love to some of the people in his life, and that is a shame in so many ways. He probably would hate to hear me say that, but it's also true, and needs to be said. I think needs to be recognized. You know, like, this is not necessarily just a, hey, I love my dad, I worship my dad. It's also kind of a real look at who my dad was and what he was and how he molded people, and that's the good and the bad that comes with that as well. Like, he wasn't always kind, and he was impatient, and I know that I can be impatient too, and that I want things to happen on a time scale that matches my desires. And again, it's just a piece of you that you struggle with, and I don't know what else to say in that regard, other than it's just important to know that that's not how it works. Know that things come from the habits that you make, and you know, I think my dad's habits, especially in the end, he, you know, had become he was very focused on his fitness, for his health, and his back, which had been, unbeknownst to him, broken earlier on in his life, fractured a couple of different times, it sounded like. And so that was one of the habits they did have, and definitely one of the better habits they did have. And I just wish that his habit forming had happened in a way that would have allowed him just a little bit more of his own kind of ventures, his own adventures too. Something the people in my family always hear me talk about, like my immediate family, is adventure. Like, if I'm talking about going on a date with my girlfriend, for instance, I'm always talking about adventures and having adventures. And I just kind of wish my dad had had more adventures in his life. I think that he would have been more fulfilled if he hadn't always done what he thought he had to do. And I think that people told him on occasion, you know, hey, you don't have to do all of this, and he didn't recognize that people would adapt, and he put it all on his shoulders, because at times when he was younger, he did do a lot to protect the people around him. Now, I've only heard pieces from one part of my family about all this, but my understanding is that my dad helped to raise the other children in his family, between him and Annette. And as those people start to fade from the tapestry of things, you know, I think it's important to get a piece of that story straight. I don't know.
If the hurt is all in vain, but you'll get through the darkest nights when you learn to find your shining lights. Little sad eyes.
Also, I don't know what music I'm listening to. I just like picked a playlist and I don't know if I like it or not, but it'll do for right now, I suppose.
Don't you know I'm carrying your weight when you're down and when you're out, I'll be around.
Who knows? My dad probably would have hated what I'm doing right now. And I don't know. That's... I guess it's just the choice I make. You know, just to try and do this and try and get this done for him.
Don't you know I am right behind you?
So one of the next steps will be, of course, getting
Don't you see I'm carrying your weight? I'll take your hurt, I'll share your
what I'm looking for.
and I'll dry your tears. Little sad eyes.
Getting the underpaint done, which is like, for me, the hardest part, because it's like what I would call pushing clay. It's where you're working out value, composition, all that type of stuff. And sometimes it can look like mud. It can not look really great, and that's okay, but God, it's frustrating sometimes. It just doesn't look the way that you want. Guys, like I said, feel free to jump in here, tell me your ideas, your thoughts, your stories of the people that you may have lost in your life. I think it's important that we all share that and have a voice. I would love to hear what other people's stories are, what their experiences of grief and loss have looked like. as this continues, it's going to be important to clean up as much as possible. Can't wait till we actually get to the point where we're merging all this together, because that means that I don't have to switch layers as much, which, if you're tired or... Oh, see, I even put the wrong line right there. Put the detector on. Here. Thank you. Redraw. So, stuff like that can happen, or worse. So...
Suddenly you look like a stranger, a face I knew but I must forgotten. Emotional flicker, you were my everything. We know we could have done it better. Fought for the little things that we wanted. I know it was so good together. Still you had to let go. Oh, I wish that you hadn't pulled the trigger. Shut me down with my bitter heart. My blood is getting thicker.
There we go.
You shut me down with my bitter heart. You swam so deep into my river. Your footsteps lead everywhere I go. I never was a weeper, but I'm still holding on. We know we could have done it better.
Music is terrible. I'm sorry. We're skipping this. It's fucking what I'm feeling.
Still you had to let go. Oh, I wish that you hadn't pulled the trigger. Shut me down.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a playlist. Yeah, thanks for joining me here at Artifact Gaming and Art. I do appreciate each and every single one of you coming in. This is my father's memorial art called Who Were You Protecting? Working on these tree roots right here and a number of other things as well. We just finished up on some of this cobra right here, which we're going to be bouncing back and forth and just continuing to work out, so to speak. The first piece is called The Blighted King. As you can see, this is kind of the level of finish that we're trying to go for right here. There's going to be a time-lapse release of this as well. Hopefully I'll be releasing that on like YouTube or something like that, depending on what type of music I can use to do that with. I think it's important to mark and memorialize my father, but I also think it's important to kind of like realistically take a look at who he was and examine it. I'm examining it through this artwork. I don't know that anybody else will get it, and that's fine. I've talked about it enough in the beginning of this stream, and I can continue to talk about it, but I would love to hear your stories of loss or, you know, remembrance for the people that you love as well. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. It's just super important. And look, I'm on the wrong layer again. Let me wrong layer stuff. Go work back on the cobra again. So this is kind of the color scheme we're going for the background. We'll probably add like gold elements or other things to kind of like counterbalance the blue, but this is just the line work background. I don't even know what these little dots are, but it's like feels appropriate for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. But it does. And so we're gonna use it. We're gonna do it. This is my phone. I heard a buzz. Like I said, I don't know who all. This is like a playlist that I just picked up, so don't blame me for the music, guys. It is a little dramatic. A little is saying it lightly. Guys, again, thanks for joining me here at Artifact Gaming and Art. Much love to you all. I know it's kind of a slower paced stream, but that's okay. This is about, well, just about loss for everybody, but like, this is about my father. This stream is about my father. So if you don't like it, I totally understand. But if you have something you want to share, feel free to comment in the comment section in whatever platform you're on. I would love it. Probably in about less than 15 minutes, we're going to stop doing this. I'm going to move on to some paintball artwork that I've been working on. Reason being for that is that we're trying to stay on top of all of our different prioritize. And we have far too many. So we've made some really good progress, especially along like the dendritis as well as the monsters. I'm waiting on some images before I can really finish out this guy right here. And we will get to that. Don't think that this is going to be something that fades off, because I can't afford to let it fade off. Too near and dear to my heart to do that with. Trying to stay focused and obligated to do that, even as I'm not working on the right layers or whatever, which that'll all change as you know, kind of condense this down. But if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button. It will help my stream, and it'll help me in kind of my quest, so to speak, which is to mark my father's grave, which never happened. So for me, that's super important. I hope that it strikes a resonance with you as well, and if it does, feel free to donate, but feel no obligation to do either. I am putting my own money into this as well. We have raised $370. The goal is really $10,000, which is crazy. The initial goal is for like $4,800, but I imagine it's going to take several trips to go to Alaska, like 3 different trips. One to find the stone, or maybe we can condense it into 2 trips. We'll see. The tools required to do all the work, and then the transportation of the stone itself. So I'm not entirely sure how that all works yet, but I am working out the logistics. Kind lady who works at a granite store gave me some granite to work with. I have a respirator now. And we'll just kind of keep everybody updated as we continue along with the progress. Every single day, you know? What the fuck am I listening to now? Jesus. I don't think I like whatever this is. I think we're gonna remove this from whatever playlists. Because it's like a playlist that you can co-opt, basically. But is this even in my playlist, or where are we? Oh, we're not even in my playlist, it's just playing. We'll see how this goes. I don't know. Better than whatever that was. I think we can work on the body of the child, though, don't you? Like, I think that's okay. Everything else is kind of getting cleaned up here. We're by no means done, and it's going to take hours and hours and hours more. But it's all starting to come around. And some of it probably never will fully. You know, I wonder if my siblings just think I'm an annoying prick for doing something like this. I don't know. I hope not. I hope they understand where this is coming from. Love you guys. Family, anybody who's looking at this, I love you. I just wish you all the best. I like the direction that's heading in, so I'm going to change it. Just trying to get the basic shapes in here. Sometimes the scribbles can be pretty distracting, so I fade them out and then I just kind of like redo the line work. That way we can get a simpler, cleaner version done. It also allows me to see where like overlapping lines from, you know, other layers are, so. And the head is still going to be kind of a exaggerated for the time being. It would probably take several passes, possibly several layers, just to get it right, because I'm slow at this and need more practice. So. So we have a much more basic child kind of figure right there, which is good. That there. So that helps kind of clarify things for me in my brain. His hand needs work, obviously. So we kind of flesh that out a little bit. But we're trying, one of the things, so as you can see, like, what ends up happening too is if you simplify, it also kind of turns into Play-Doh. Like, everything, the segmentation gets lost, all your notes on everything get kind of lost. So you kind of have to re-detail things, and hopefully you do it in a more clean manner. If that makes sense. Guys, please don't hesitate to like the stream, to hit the stream like follow buttons. Any of those types of things help me in my endeavor to get my dad's grave marked, which is a huge portion of what I'm doing this for, but it's also to help people share their stories of loss, of grief, of all those types of things. The head's a little big, but like adolescent heads in comparison to like bodies are usually a little bit bigger. Get that right there. It's 12:30 right now. We've been streaming for how long? How long have we been streaming for? About an hour exact. I said I'd be doing this for about an hour a day. We have made some pretty good progress, I would say, for sure. Gonna go ahead and save the file so we don't lose it, because that's a thing still. So yeah, this is coming along. We have like kind of a background direction. Which we'll continue to kind of flesh out and work out as well. So this will be kind of the color scheme for this one. This is the first piece. The Blighted King is the name of it. Has to do with my dad and kind of his decline, both in his decline as his health, and also the decline of like some of his principles, I guess, or some of his. I guess maybe it's the description I would give it best would be like turning brittle, like the. You know, when you get older, your arteries harden, and I think so too do your perspectives. And it's like the hardening of perspectives, I suppose, that he just couldn't flex on and insisted on, and was unwilling to accept changes that were coming in modern day society. So that's part of this too. That's what the Blighted King's about. It's kind of like the fall of a king, I suppose. Fall of somebody who had such beautiful ideals and really espoused so many things and fought for so many different ideals that he really cared about. And then in some of those ideals, he didn't really represent them very well at the end either, and that's unfortunate. But anyway, I love you all. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. I've got to move on to the next projects, so I'm going to stop here, take a second, and then I'm going to work on some paintball artwork. This last paintball project we were doing is called the Cartographer's Firmament. It is just an idea, like a what if type of thing. So I think it's pretty cool too. Let's get rid of that. The piece we worked on today was Who Were You Protecting? We're not going to change anything on that. And then this is the Cartographer's Firmament, which is just like a starscape with some cool atlas lines kind of coming through it, and then this compass rose I had made while I was driving around with my lady. This is the spine, which I really love the idea that spines can be now designed on for guns, for paintball markers. And so when you next see me, which will probably be in just a little while here after I get up, stretch, do a few other things because I'm old, I'm going to be working on the next idea for that in the TFD series. We'll share that across TFD as well, guys. But if you do want to help me out, I'm just going to say it one last time. Go check out the GoFundMe in the comments, in the description of this stream. It's important to me and would be a huge help if you could share this out. Even if you can't donate, I totally understand. $5, $2, any dollars does help, but it's going to help me to mark my father's grave. And I do have to get the funding for this going by September. So I'm going to be reaching out to a number of different outlets and trying to see if anybody's willing to pick up the story and share it out. If you'd be willing to do that, that would be absolutely amazing as well. Thank you so much, and much love to you all. I will see you probably tomorrow. Like I said, I've got some stretching to do, some other stuff, and then we're going to work on the next stream in a little bit as well, which will be predominantly art. We'll be doing some late night gaming streams as we can, but that's just not really the focus today. Obviously, my gaming streams have been infrequent at best lately. So yeah, much love. I'll talk to you later. Bye.